Okay, everyone, I'm sure everybody is anxious to start. We'll go ahead now since it's 2 p.m. I wanted to thank everybody who has joined us today to our webinar. My name is Mafe, and I'm the Communications Manager for iRaiser. So welcome, everybody. Just to give you a little bit of intro to those who have not joined our webinars before, it's your first time joining. In light of COVID-19 and of course this unprecedented global crisis that we're all going through, at iRaiser we've decided to create this series of webinars to join our international community and basically help each other to help the world. So thank you so much for joining today. We are kind of hosting a lot of more of these in the future. We will be hosting, so please keep in touch to join as many as you can. And even if you can't participate, we do record the sessions. So just in case you can sign up, and you will receive a recording as soon as the session is done. We have also started a fundraising hub, just for information, where same thing, we share tools with you and articles and interesting things that can help you get through this crisis. And please take advantage of this community and the webinars. It's an opportunity for you to interact with our team, with Antoine, with ourselves, and ask as many questions as possible. We're doing this, of course, to just help and support you as much as we can. And please feel free to post on the fundraising hub. We will be sharing the link on the chat. As soon as we can, and post your questions, and we'll answer as best as we can. So we'll just jump right into it. So of course today we have our CEO Antoine Martel. For those of you that don't know him, thank you so much, Antoine, for joining us. Antoine, of course, is someone who's very passionate about the charity sector. I mean, he's had 17 years of experience, and I'll let him, of course, fill you in a little bit more about his background. So Antoine, feel free to tell us about, a little bit about your story and how you got started, and of course, how you founded eventually iRaiser.
Okay, well, hello everyone, I hope you're doing well and that you're safe, and your colleagues, your family, everyone are safe. It's a pleasure for me to exchange, and this is really an open session, so feel free to step in anytime and ask as many questions as you want. I'm here for you to just help you and share my experience, knowledge, and etc. So to introduce myself, I am Antoine Martel. I'm the CEO of iRaiser. I'm 41 years old, and I'm living in Bordeaux. I started working in the internet industry in 1999, so it was a couple of years ago. And I was working for Lycos, which was at the time one of the biggest internet players. And I launched my first fundraising campaign in 2003. So it was, 70 years ago. And I then worked for a different fundraising agency to help charity raise more money through digital. In 2008, one of my friends was a country manager of Facebook France. And he got a lot of free advertising available on Facebook. And he proposed me to give a lot of this space for a fundraising campaign. So we create a campaign, and we drove 20,000 people who click on a button, I want to make a donation for a charity. So on my side, I was really happy, and I called the client just to celebrate. But it didn't go as I expect, as the client was not really happy, and they got only like 20 or 30 donors. And I said, well, something is wrong here. And I just go back to their donation form, and I realized it was an 8-step donation form. You need to register, wait for the login and password, and then go back to the donation form. So from this day, I thought to myself, it's not relevant to spend time, money, energy to try to acquire donors if the donation form is not easy, quick, and secure. So a couple of years later, I created iRaiser, and the idea is to provide an easy, quick, and secure donation form and other solution to help charity raise as much money as possible. So this is a story. This is my story, and this is the story of iRaiser. And today we are a team of 45 full-time people. We have more than 600 clients in 18 different countries. and we are we've managed kind of 11 million of payments since the first day of this company, and I believe that we already go through 1 billion euros of money raised for our different clients. The last 40 days has been kind of really intense, where we experienced 700,000 of donation.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thanks so much, Antoine. Of course, it's a very challenging time, but we've seen some. I guess we can always take a positive side on that. And I mean, I'll let you get into that later. But the big question that everybody obviously is wondering is how, since this COVID-19 outbreak, how do you think that the fundraising sector has changed?
On my side, I've noticed two change. One is really visible, is that for the first time ever, charity cannot no longer or hardly use their other fundraising channels. So they cannot do event fundraising, face-to-face fundraising, door-to-door fundraising, telemarketing, or even direct mail. So digital is now the first channel for many charities in terms of income or investment. And it appears on some sectors kind of I didn't expect, but for example, we have church as a church mass is no longer possible. Church can no longer collect Quest money, so they move to online donation and they raise a lot of money. We saw a lot of dioceses who raise money and launch a digital campaign. So I was quite impressive. It's also true for museum and monuments in France or New York or wherever. For example, I was in relationship a few days ago with the general manager of the Center of National Monuments, donc le Centre des Monuments Nationaux, that take care about the biggest monuments in France, and they just lost about 50 million euros through because they cannot deliver any tickets, so they cannot raise any money through this. And they just launched a virtual tour on their different monuments. So that was the case also in New York for an opera. And they also organize a virtual gala where some artists can, sing, play, and etc. to raise money. So the first big change is that everybody goes to digital and raise a lot of money through digital. The second change I've noticed, but it's a change that I already noticed a few years ago, but it's really visible now, is that charity, they are in competition now with a lot of personal initiative like GoFundMe, Facebook, PayPal, Litchi, Le Pot Commun. So it's individuals who just launch fundraising appeals through these different networks and players and raise a lot of money. So why I use the word competition is that the wallet of our donors is not unlimited, and he cannot give to everybody at the same time. So and this personal initiative, they are set up kind of really, really fast. So I know that GoFundMe, they never expect so many new fundraising from individuals. It's the same for Litchi or GoFundMe and etc. So it's really impressive, and that's really a new change in our sector. So that's my two biggest visible change. But again, feel free to participate, to challenge me. It's really an open webinar today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Antoine. So from that, do you think then that these changes that you've seen and the overall crisis has had an overall negative or positive impact on the sector?
I believe on a short term, the impact is, I would say, maybe depending on for what kind of organization you work with, but I believe it's positive because I'm working in this sector since again 17 years. I've managed the tsunami in Asia that was really amazing in terms of funds that has been raised. But it's the first time ever I can see so many fundraising initiatives all around. At Eraser, we never got so many inbound calls from a corporate, from a new client that wants to launch something. So it's really, really impressive. And the volume of funds we raise and the different nonprofit raise are really impressive. So this is for the short-term view. And what we experience is that a lot of new donors also donate today. And there was maybe some people, individuals or corporate that was not used to donate before. So for charity, they got access to new kind of donors, which is good. They collect a lot of data, a lot of money. So maybe on the short term, it's good. Now, on the middle and long term, we don't know how bad the economy will be impacted by this crisis. We know that for institutions, the level of debts will be deeper maybe than ever. Some corporates will maybe many corporates will maybe go bankrupt. And some people, unfortunately, will lose their job or will reduce their level of income. So I imagine that some of the donors, no matter this is institution, corporate, or individuals, they might not be able to give anymore, or they might be able to decrease or just stop their recurring donation. So on the middle and long term, we don't know yet, but I will say it might be a bit challenging. Yeah.
But do you think that we have seen? But you said we have seen kind of a positive effect. People are it may be an opportunity as well, like you said, for organizations to adapt, to develop themselves digitally. And we have seen a lot of people taking this opportunity or kind of wanting to give, correct? So it might be an opportunity to tap into that generosity that has been awakened in people. So like you said, we don't know yet, but it could be a good opportunity for organizations, like you said, to find new donors and adapt digitally and find new ways to touch with supporters. Thank you, Antoine. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but like we said, feel free to jump in or type your questions into the chat. We'll be happy to answer as many as we can. I'm not sure if many of you know, but with iRaiser, we managed 3 of the 4 official organizations that did the fundraising for Notre Dame a year ago. And it's been 1 year since that, this month. So I wanted to ask you, Antoine, in regards to, this phenomenon, of course, of fundraising that we all remember. Do you think that there are key lessons that we can learn from that, or that organizations can learn and can apply today during this crisis?
Well, it's always Notre Dame was unexpected, and this crisis was unexpected for many people. But it's really important for charity to be ready. So what does it mean to be ready on a digital point of view is to have a good website and to have a good donation form. With the appropriate UX, so user experience, to be able to provide a really easy, quick, and secure donation. To be also to propose the really exhaustive payment method like PayPal Express Checkout, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, check, also bank transfer. This is check and bank transfer could be seen as a old-fashioned payments method, but for major donor, for corporate, they are the most preferred ones. And today, if I combine PayPal Express Checkout, Amazon Pay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, all these combined, it could represent more than 50% of the payments method used online for some of our clients. So you really need to be ready. You also need to be the first. I noticed that some organizations, they take a lot of time to launch a fundraising campaign. And really be the first matter. With Notre Dame de Paris fundraising appeals, we saw that Fondation du Patrimoine, that was the first one to launch their fundraising campaign. get approximately 60 or 70% of all the donors, the individual donors. So you need to be the first. Be ready also is need to be ready in terms of search engine optimization, search engine marketing, search engine social media optimization, so all the different social network. Yeah. Also, the idea is to be proactive. It's really important. And I would say I would add something to other elements. Be inspiring on the difference your organization can make. I believe that today people love to be part of good and positive story and adventure. So you really need today more than maybe than ever to inspire people. Yeah. So that's my recommendation, and this is what we learn.
Thank you so much, Antoine. And for does anybody have any comments or questions on that? I mean, I'll let people say anything if they'd like. But if not, I mean, we wanted to know, in regards to that, we saw a very large wave of solidarity globally with Notre Dame. And it's something that, of course, we're seeing today as well with COVID-19, maybe even more so, since it affects really every corner of the world. But how do you compare? Do you see a comparison or something between the reaction that we've had to COVID to that of Notre Dame?
Notre Dame was happened on the Monday evening, and most of the money has been raised in the next 4 days. With the COVID, and that was a cathedral who is burning is really something visible. So the fundraising was done really fast. With the COVID-19, it was not something as visible. It takes a couple of weeks, to really have an effect on the different countries. Charity takes sometimes to launch their fundraising appeals and etc. But I would say that for Notre Dame de Paris, they raise a bit less than 1 billion euros. With the COVID-19, it seems, I don't have the global figures yet, but it seems we already the non-profit world, already raised more than 10 billion euros. So we multiply, it's 10 times Notre Dame. So it's really amazing. It's really massive. So I don't know if I answer your question, Mafé.
Yes, of course. I mean, maybe like you said, it's we have a question from Pascal, who's asking if 10 billion is worldwide or is it for just France?
Yeah, worldwide. And this is only in US. It seems that they raise more than 5 billion.
Incredible.
I think all the information, the data will just go higher and higher.
I think, yes, of course. And like we said, I feel like now people being, at home and seeing that everybody's affected, they're searching for opportunities to be, like you said, inspired and help even more so, and try to kind of get this out together. I think it's unified in a sense, people around the world.
Just also to give you some example, maybe it's not really representative, but we were in relationship with some major companies, or the company from the CAC 40. I don't know how you say this in English, Mafé.
I'm not sure. CAC 40. If anybody else is aware, please let us know.
The stock exchange, the French stock exchange.
Thank you, sorry.
You have the 40 biggest. Who got the biggest valuation. So we are in a relationship with many of companies who are part of this. And, for years, they were just questioning us about, okay, we want to launch some fundraising initiatives, some philanthropic program, etc. But for many years, they didn't launch anything. And here, in a couple of weeks, couple of days, they make decision and they launch something at the worldwide level to raise money through all their employees and etc. So really, it's amazing the number of initiatives we can see and experience all around for a small corporate, really big one, individuals, non-profit. It's really impressive.
Thank you, Antoine. We actually have another question from Pascal. What is your perspective of projections of potential decreased level in percentage of donations and or switch in kind of sources of donations? You can read it.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. I believe that because non-profit will be needed as maybe never before, and a lot of beneficiary will count on non-profit. Fundraising will be really important, but will be really challenging. So we, as a sector, we will have really big responsibilities to perform. I know it's going to be much more complicated, but I don't have any figures about what will be the impact. So I invite you to be proactive, to keep and maintain the highest level of relationship with your sympathizer, with your donors. People give to people they know. People give to people they have a relationship with. People give to people they trust. So it's really important you maintain and you increase the level of relationship with all your donors. Maybe some donors they will they will ask themselves if they should stop their recurring donation. So maybe I invite you to be proactive and to send an email to your recurring donors to say, look, we know that the time is challenging for everyone, and maybe you can you question yourself about you should stop your recurring donation, and be proactive to say, please do not do this. Don't stop. Your recurring donation really matters to us. Now be aware that we can suspend it, we can decrease it, but please do not stop. So again, to answer you, Pascal, I don't have figures. I believe it's going to be really challenging, and I invite you to communicate, to be really close
Proactive.
to our donors, proactive, and yeah. So I don't know if you understand my answers, and if you have any comments and feedback regarding it, again, feel free.
Thank you, Antoine. Again, like Antoine said, please feel free to keep your questions coming. Just in regards to that as well, do you think, I mean, a question that everybody keeps asking themselves, a lot of organizations out there that do not have a direct link with COVID-19, do you think that they will see as well a negative impact on their fundraising efforts? And possibly, what would your advice be on how they should approach this crisis?
I believe that anyone is impacted by the COVID-19 directly or indirectly. I was just sharing the example with the church, with some museum, etc. So depending to who you are, you have different possibilities to manage this. I saw that Catherine was maybe part of this meeting. She's working for the University of Nantes. So the University of Nantes is a university, as you can imagine, and they just raise money through their alumni. So basically, normally the money she raised is for the school, the university, to just make it better, etc. And I just saw that she launched some campaign to build some masks, to protect the medical workers. And she raised a lot of money to support local initiative to protect, medical workers and some other stuff. So you need, I believe, to be proactive to help. You cannot not talk about this COVID-19 crisis. Simon was just sharing that some organizations, for example, that take care about animals, maybe it's a good time to provide content to their sympathizer about animals, about how you can take care about them in this period of time. how you can provide content to the child, to sensitive them about what you do, etc.
Yes, it means that basically organizations, obviously your causes, whether linked to COVID or not, do not stop with this crisis. So it's to keep correct me if I'm wrong, Antoine, but what you're saying is, of course, to keep your community involved, keep communicating with them and letting them know that your cause still needs their help and their attention during this time, even more so. We have another question, yes, from Guillaume. Do you want to go ahead, Antoine, and read it?
Yeah, do you think that the donors will concentrate their donation on the action in their own countries? It will be complicated for the non-NGO acting in poor countries. Yes, what we see today is that most of the fundraising campaign or for, the fundraising campaign in France or for France. The fundraising campaign in Belgium or for Belgium, they are for the hospital, the medical workers, the homeless, and many other people. Now, a lot of non-profit are really concerned about the situation in Africa. It seems we're going to go in just in a couple of weeks from 50 million people who just starving from hunger to maybe 60 million. And I just noticed that in Belgium, it seems that 1212 is going to launch a campaign to raise funds to manage the needs for in Africa, in other country. In Netherlands, you have Giro 55, which is an equivalent of Alliance Urgence in France, or 1212 in Belgium, in order to raise also money for all the people who need in Africa and abroad. So yes, the first reflex of people maybe today is take care about their cities, their country, and maybe they don't think about the outside. But it's really your responsibilities to communicate how much important is it to take care about those people, because it seems the effect is even worse in this country. So it's possible. It's challenging, but it's possible. Again, you need to be inspiring. It's easy to say, it's more complicated to do, but yeah, fundraising is about emotion, so you need really to be emotional.
Tap into that.
Yeah. I don't know if you have any comment, Guillaume, but you feel free, you can talk also.
Thank you. We have another question from Pascal. Will corporates or enterprises participate more in fundraising in the future, do you think?
As I was sharing, maybe we'll have some corporate that will stop their fundraising partnership or etc. because they just go bankrupt. But and maybe they will just reduce it because their situation is really complicated. Now, I never see so many initiative and philanthropic initiative from company today, and some corporate that was not used to do any philanthropic activities. So it's like everybody wake up, and it seems that everybody also they're doing for good, I believe, but also I believe that everybody has an interest to make this crisis, close as possible. If we can use the word close, maybe it's not really appropriate, but over, because this is for the interest of everyone and even them. So yes, I believe you really it's a good time to build relationship with corporate. There is a lot of stuff to do. I saw that many of you create a donation form which is dedicated for a corporate, where the corporate can do matching giving on their employees, can cover the fees. So I see a lot of partnership between the corporate and non-profit. So yes.
Thank you, Antoine. I know we had actually Simon who wanted to comment on one of the previous questions. Simon, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I just wanted to go back to the question about donation in poor country, if you're acting in NGOs acting in poor country. The fact I think we have to keep in mind is that if donors were were caring about your cause before, there's no reason they are stopping taking care about it right now. So yes, maybe in the first time of Repens, they are more focused on the local actions, but it doesn't mean that they will stop thinking about your organization, your mission, your combat. So I think you still have to explain them how COVID is affecting your mission, your role, and they will follow you, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, Simon. Again, feel free, please, to post your comments or interact with us. You can talk as well. I will go ahead and to another question that we have from Joseph. I'm currently revising my organization's communications and marketing plan. Do you have any advice?
So it's difficult to give you advice without the context of who you are, what your organization is doing, where you are in terms of maturity, in terms of resource, and etc. But you cannot communicate without the context of the COVID-19. So you need to be to be empathic with your supporters, with your donors. You need to create relationship. You need to be emotional. You need to use storytelling. Really, I saw some videos on Facebook. I can share it with Solidarité International. They made a video, and they just put a lot of data. We have 2 million people there. The needs, the number of people who are starving from hunger, and etc. And in most of the fundraising studies we saw is that a storytelling is much more powerful than all the data you can give. So a donation is come from the heart, is not come from the head. So in communication, you need to be personal. It's really important. Now, in terms of marketing, you need to invest of digital, it's for sure. You need to make your website as SEO friendly as possible. You need to have the best donation form possible with the minimum number of fields before the payment. It's not relevant to add too many fields before. You need to use video. Video is really powerful. We say one image worth 1,000 words. I believe that with a video, it's even more, but you need to make a really appropriate video. So that's my short advice. You need to use social media. It's really now impressive. You need to multiply the partnership with the corporate. Sometimes I saw a lot of silos in non-profit. You have the individuals department and you have the corporate department, and they don't talk to each other. I believe there is a lot of bridge and values to work together. So that's my advice. But if you can give me maybe a bit more context of who you are, what you do, I can maybe be much more focused and relevant.
Thank you so much, Antoine. Moving on to the next question, but again, Joseph, feel free to join also our group on Facebook, and you can post more questions, give us more details, and you can always as well email us. We'll be providing some contact info, and we'd be happy to provide you with more information. We have another question from La Cimade service. I can see in this moment the digital result is increasing. Do you think that it will have an impact for, I'm guessing that means the end of the year? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Antoine, did you see the question? I can see do you think that it will have an impact for the end of the year, that the fact that the digital results are increasing?
So the question is, today, they raise a lot of funds, but they want to know if the volume of funds they raise today will be the same at the end of the year, or if it will just decrease.
Yes, they're asking if it's going to have an impact. I'm guessing yes, if you think it will have a negative or positive impact. Siman, if you posted this question, please feel free to clarify if we didn't understand your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It is to know if, because in this moment we have more and more donation on the digital, so maybe we will have an impact in the end of the year. Less donation, maybe, we don't know about. What do you think about that?
Again, I'm not a magician, so I don't have a boule de cristal, crystal bubble. I don't know if this is correct English.
Crystal ball, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure most of the non-profit will be impact, and fundraising will be challenging. But so fundraiser will need to be smarter, better in their fundraising campaign. I believe you need to be much more different than you were before, etc. So if you're able to manage this correctly, if you're able to manage to make the good investments, well, maybe you will be impact for sure, but maybe not as bad as if you just don't do anything, or if you don't do the good choice, and if you don't maintain the relationship and maintain a good quality of relationship with your donors and supporters.
Thank you so much for your question.
We say that fundraising is about emotion, is about transparency, efficiency, emergency. So more you're able in your communication to provide content that show emotion, that show your efficiency, your transparency, the emergency to donate now and not tomorrow, to maintain for people, for the donors to maintain their donation and their recurring donation. If you're able to do so, then I believe you will be impact, but not as bad as if you don't do it.
I hope this answers your question. So the next question that we have is from Pascal. Thanks, Pascal, for being so interactive with us. What was the best initiative from your point of view in collecting funds in the context of this crisis, and why?
I believe today it's complicated to emerge, because you have so many non-profits on the market. You have so many initiatives, so many videos. The volume of content and media consumption is just huge. So today, if you want to emerge, you need to think big. You need to, if you're little, what you can do is merge with other charity. So we saw that for the first time that a lot of charity just merge. For example, in France, Médecins du Monde and so Doctors of the World and Doctors Without Borders, they just do some campaign, a fundraising campaign where they merge together. And by merging together, it creates something new, something different. 1 and 1 is not equal sometimes to 2. It can equal to 3, to 4, because it just make it bigger. It's also the case with the French Foundation, Institut Pasteur, and APHP. So it's 3 different non-profits. They just merge together to be all united against the virus. So I see a lot of initiative like this. The best initiative is people who be part of a bigger group, who are ambitious, because and who are really positive in their communication. I really believe that people today, they want to be part of something big, something positive. So I can share you a couple of links that was inspired for me.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Antoine. If there are other questions, so one question, of course, that I'm sure everybody will be happy to hear is, in your opinion, or do you have any advice for nonprofits to remain resilient during this crisis? Kind of come out on top of it. What would be your advice?
Can you say it again? I didn't get it. It was
Sorry.
for me, or it was for somebody else?
No, it's for you, the question. So what would be your advice for nonprofits during this time, during this global crisis, to remain resilient, to kind of get through this and just come out on top, and what can they learn from it?
Again, is communicate, sharing, be authentic, inspired by give personal storytelling. It's really important. If you're able to provide this and to manage this, I believe you can really raise some funds. So that's really my, I kind of repeating a bit myself, but that's really my message.
Excellent. Thank you, Antoine. Actually, we had another question from Patrizia from Italy, who submitted her question on our Google form. She had asked, how will healthcare fundraising be affected by the actual situation?
Well, just for I can take an example, but we have a lot of hospitals that we signed recently who just start fundraising, and they raise a lot of money through individuals, but that was not something they were mature on. They thought about before. APHP, Fondation APHP, which is the foundation that take care about all the hospitals of Paris. They just created their charity about 2 years ago, and the idea was really to raise funds from a major donor. And with this crisis, they got so many individual donors. That was something they didn't thought in their strategy. They have so many solicitation from different people. So they raise a lot of money. Now it's really important when you get a first donation to be able to acknowledge, because the most complicated is to get the first donation. This is the most complicated things. But once you get it, it's really good. You can create the relationship with the donors to acknowledge. I believe we never say thank you enough to the donors. So it's really important to thank you. And more thank you say to the donors, more you have chance that he will be able to make a second donation, and maybe will go to a recurring donation. So how are you going to manage and how the different medical organization will manage this first time donors will have a major impact on the fund they're going to raise in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years, and etc. So today they raise a lot of money, but it's really important that they can manage and thank you this really appropriately.
So you can.
Sense?
Sorry?
I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, I was going to say it can be applied that this last tip or message that you're sending out, it can be applied to our last question about advice. I mean, not just about obviously being inspiring and sharing your story and communicating with your donors, but it's also showing being empathic, like you said, and being really thankful towards them, because it is because of your supporters and donors that you can still continue on and work on your mission.
I saw some nonprofit, and Simon, you can maybe share this one, but you made a donation, and on the thank you page, you have a video. So you can embed on our form a thank you video. The thank you video could be different from the amount of donation. It could be different from the frequency of the donation. Or you can also put an image with a link to a thank you video that could be put on a YouTube, Vimeo, or whatever. But it's really important. You can thank you and
show your appreciation. Yeah. Thank you, Antoine. We have.
Go
ahead.
I shared an example of a nice thank you page on the chat here. If you want to make a donation to this organization, you will see how they manage the thank you page. It is really, really interesting.
Great. Thank you so much, Simon.
And
anybody else have any comments on that?
We propose for many years to put a video on the thank you page. I believe charity invests a lot of money to acquire donors, to get the funds, but it's really also important you can take care correctly about all these new donors, and to be able to acknowledge enough. If you don't do this, you diminish your chance to get a second donation from them. And as the coming months, coming years might certainly be a bit challenging, it's really important you can thank you enough. and build the good relationship by creating some automate scenarios through marketing automation and so on.
Yeah, it's a big, just to kind of wrap that up. It's a big, very important factor to take into account about your of your donor journey. It shouldn't be ignored. Basically, it should be something that's really pivotal in that relationship building. We do have another question from Marion. How do you explain big CAC 40 firms or even small corporate had no philanthropic fiber and wouldn't give, and that now today give so quickly for COVID? Do you think it is more for communication, for their image, because of their values? Why so? Because causes in the world are here and have always been.
So you have a lot of questions. How do I explain? Well, I believe there is no maybe bad guy and good guy, and maybe I'm a bit naive, but I believe everyone has a good spirit in their heart. And when I was working for Lycos, really 20 years ago, we as a company wants to help. We believe we have a responsibilities, and we were one of the biggest website. And when I met nonprofits, some of the nonprofit has a really negative feedback. And they believe, it was just a greenwashing or just for communicate and etc. And we were kind of a bit,
astonished and surprised
and even shocked about their reaction, because we just want to help and do something good. And it's not that you're for profit that you are the evil. And when we exchange with this company, they want to help. They feel really concerned about this crisis. And I believe today, as a company, you cannot just ignore the impact of this crisis. So because you cannot ignore it, you're concerned and you're forced to help. So even if this is not from the heart and more from the head, they need to do something. And in respect to their employees, Simon was sharing a fact that today young people, they want to work for a company that do some good, that have a positive impact on the planet, on the economy. So they need to do this corporate for their employees, for their partner, for their client, for their different shareholders. They need to do this. So that's I believe one answer. And of course they are not in competition with you. They don't want to do your work, and they are looking for partnership. So I don't know if your question, Marion, or if you want, if you have any feedback. Simon, you feel free also to step in, as you have some experience in the corporate partnership.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I can add something maybe on the corporate side that, as Antoine told you just before, more than 80% of Generation Z people want to work in companies where they have positive impact. So finally, for companies, it's not a question anymore. They have to do something just to keep their company on the top level. For example, if you take like a LVMH or something like this, they are on the top of the sector, and if they want to stay on the top, they have to hire the best people. And if the best people are wanted to work in a positive company, so LVMH has to become a great company. It's as simple as it. They cannot ignore that all of the best people in the world will want to work in a positive company. So they will have to adapt themselves.
And also we can send you some examples, but we saw so many initiatives that, for example, AXA Group, Slack, or some other company, they just do partnership with a charity. They just want a branded donation form with their logo. and send it to all their employees, to all their clients, and where they say, look, it's really important. You can make a donation. The nonprofit needs your money to help the different beneficiary and etc. And for each donation you do, we will match it. We will match it up to 500K, 600K, 50K, and etc. And we have some nonprofit. They even raise more funds from the employees giving that from what they do on their natural, fundraising campaign and etc. So that you have a lot of good things to do with corporate, but you need to be proactive. And sometimes I got the feeling that non-profit, they just do not want at all to work with corporate. They believe it's evil. So of course you need to pay attention, but you can really raise a lot of money through this.
It could be a good opportunity and good partnership if used and correctly aligned or used in the right way. Thank you so much, Antoine. Moving on to
working on a concert today, and we have many also company. They need to communicate, and they want to communicate on a relevant way regarding the context of it. So they are okay to give 100K, 200K, etc. to be associated with the value of this concert. It will be a concert to raise money, and we think about matching giving to cover the fees of the transaction, and also, for example, on the thank you page, well, would you like to be opt-in to receive more elements regarding who we are, what we do, but an opt-in for the company, So there is some. We need to think about what could be the partnership we can do with this company.
Excellent. Thank you, Antoine. If anybody else has any other comments or feedback on that, please feel free. I'd like to maybe ask you a couple more, maybe a little bit more technical questions as well that could be useful for our organizations that are listening to us today. In terms of data, what do you think is useful to ask for in a donation form, and what is some data that is possible to avoid to improve the user experience?
Yeah. Well, sometimes on a donation form, I saw charities that ask a lot of elements. A lot of elements regarding GDPR, some opt-in, some other elements. My recommendation is you can ask this on the thank you page, not before. And for me, it's totally a compliance to do so. And if you do so, you will be able to enable, again, PayPal Express Checkout. You will be able to enable Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon Pay, and where the people will only need to select their amounts and click on this button, PayPal Express and whatever. And people won't need to do anything else. And it will have a really nice impact on it. And so if you can just ask the amount, the frequency, then the email address, first name, last name, the address. And for example, we have on our site, but it's something you can do also. When you go to Google Maps, you don't have address 1, address 2, zip code, city, country. You just have one address. So I will invite you to kind of reduce the volume of fields you ask, and especially on the address. So when the people come on their donation form, they have the feeling, okay, it's going to be easy, it's going to be quick, it's going to be fast. It's really, you need to address this feeling to your donors. Also, something else I can share, maybe it's not relevant to your question, Mafe, you will forgive me. But a couple of years ago, I was used to do I share this a lot, but sorry for the one who already listened this story. But a couple of years ago, I was used to do a lot of marathons and ultra marathons, like 80 kilometers. And during this race, you can have some times where you can think to yourself, it's too long. I'm fed up. I'm not going to make it. I want to stop. And once you're able to see the finish line, no matter how much tired you are, you're able to finish. And why I'm doing this parallel is because on a donation form, it's like the same. When you don't see the end of the donation form, when there is too many fields, you can say, it's too complicated. I'm fed up. I want to quit. I want to stop. But once you're able to see the finish line, you will go to the end. And what the finish line on a donation form is, fill your credit card details. And if you're able to see right away without scrolling down, you can fill your credit card details, then people go to the end. So really my recommendation is, as the minimum, and simplify the life and the user experience as possible, and it will have a massive impact on the funds you're going to raise.
Thank you, Antoine. And in regards to that as well, then it can lead us to a next question that I wanted to ask you. Like, for you, what is one of the biggest mistakes? I mean, would you consider that being one of the biggest mistakes that you see that organizations make in their donor journey that affects their conversion rates?
Yeah, well, it's like non-profit who think that a donation form is a survey, and okay, how do you know her? How do you know us? Why you want to make a donation? What the reason? Give the birth date, the phone number, the cell phone. Do you want to be opt-in for email? Do you want to be opt-in for direct mail, for phone, for something else? And ask a lot of questions. A donation form is a donation form. Qualification survey is something else. So please do not mix this together. It's not right. You need to have one goal, and the goal is raise as much money as you can. And then on the thank you page, it's the right place to acknowledge, to thank you, and to qualify. So that's really my advice. And this is advice based on experience, on test, because sometimes I share during this webinar some feelings, okay? Here, this is not a feeling, okay? This is facts. More you ask, less you get. So this is really a fact.
Thank you, Antoine. I do have one final question, but I want to give the opportunity, if we only have a few minutes left, if anybody else in our audience has any questions, I want to give them the opportunity to do so now. If not, I can go ahead and ask my final question for you. Does anybody else have any questions?
It's like people are a bit shy today.
Yeah, but it's all right. I mean, you can always come back, and like I said, send us your questions on our, on our Facebook page, or on our contact page as well on our website. We will be happy to answer and to help you as much as we can. We do have one question from Marion. Do you have other methods of thank you that you would recommend other than videos?
Personalize, do a testimonial from beneficiary, that how much importance the donation has made in the life of the beneficiary. You need to make the donors proud, happy. So this is for the idea is really to acknowledge. Now you can also invite him to share his donation on the different social network. You can invite him to start a fundraising campaign. If he really believes. You can ask a lot. So it's something you can test. So depending to who you are, what you do, maybe you can do different stuff. And depending if this is a one-off donation or recurring donation. But if people do a recurring donation on the thank you page, you can also let him know that if one day he got any money issue, that he should not stop his recurring donation. He can suspend, he can decrease, but please do not stop. And by sharing this little message and etc., so he got his mind, do not stop my recurring donation to the charity, because it's a huge effect. It's really important. But yeah.
I remember you also mentioning at one point that if you do have time for those major donors that you have, or I think a very personal touch as well, correct me if I'm wrong, Antoine, but a good idea would be to maybe give them a call, actually, to have your team call some of your donors and make it more personal.
I shared this story many times, but at my wedding, we give 7,000 euros to a charity. and it was 2 days before a wedding. Some people of the charity were there, so they congratulated us for the wedding, but they didn't say thank you for the donation because they didn't know we made the donation. Because the €1 donation or 7,000 euros donation, it was the same workflow. So it's really important to be proactive, and we are pro-digital. We love digital, but a phone call, writing thank you letters matters and make a difference. So could be good that, for example, on the thank you page, and depending if this is a €1 today donation or 7,000 euro donation, you can personalize this thank you page. If you ask for the birth date, and if the donors filled it, and if the birth date is before 1950, well, would you like to receive a legacy brochure? If the birth date is after 1980s or 85, would you like to become a volunteer? You know, you can really adapt this thank you page, adapt it based on the information you got on the donation, etc. It's really relevant. And if this is a major donation, if this is a legacy, just send the immediate email or SMS to the major donor department, to the legacy department. This is something you can do easily on our solution. So really invite you to do. Yeah, and if this is not a video, it could be pictures, you know, of the team that just say with a
sign,
you know, and something, or a beneficiary who says thank you, you know.
Thank you, Antoine. And so I'll go ahead and ask you my final question, even though we've kind of run out of time, but it's okay. One question that we get from a lot of our clients is, what can they do to drive traffic to their payment platform? And what tips could you give them to easily apply algorithms or widgets or tags, anything to increase their average donation?
Well, it's not going to be a short answer, but to increase your traffic, you need to work on your SEO. So SEO means search engine optimization. You need to work on 3 pillars. So content is really key. The technical, how your website is been done, and the last element is the net linking. But for example, well, content is content, but you need to write pages, articles with keywords relating to the where you include the keywords you want to be positioned on. Then you really need to make your website SEO friendly as possible. So it needs to be with a perfect responsive. It needs to be in SSL with HTTPS. The page needs to load really fast. So you have 3 tools you can use. It's Google PageSpeed that will give you a grade on your desktop and on mobile, etc. Because Google take into consideration how fast your website is loading to position yourself on their SERP, which is the search engine page. So really SEO is really important. Then it's the search engine marketing is when you buy keywords on Google. So many of you have Google Grants programs, but again, you need to buy the keyword, but also to improve your quality score. So quality score is another grade done by Google. And again, it will take into consideration if your website is responsive, if your website is in HTTPS, if your website loads fast, because Google wants that their user got the best experience they can from the result Google provides. So if Google drive their people to some websites that are not relevant, that are not secure, that are not responsive, etc., their user will have a bad experience and will just use another search engine. So Google really pay really attention to this element. So it's really important. You can work on it. Then SMO is social media optimization. So it's all the social network: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We have some nonprofit. They raised a lot of money through LinkedIn. The average donation was maybe 5 or 6 times higher than the campaign they do on Instagram. Now Instagram is the social network with image and video. Again, we saw that one image worth 1,000 words. So if you're able to provide some emotional image, inspirational image on Instagram, you really have some good opportunity to raise funds. So social media needs to be managed. You need to think video. You need to publish on a frequent point of view content on this social network, and maybe to adapt it a bit. Then the journalists, they really use a lot Twitter. So you need to think also with Twitter to be ordered to get press coverage by journalists. Again, some nonprofit, they get a lot of funds because they get published in different newspaper. They get they were on TV and etc. So you need to maybe work with a public relationship agency or press agency. If you have people, also it could be good. You can people like celebrities or YouTubers. It could be good really to involve them. You know, they want to help, and I saw some charity that really performed really well through this. Also with partnership with corporate, you know, because corporate, they have a huge database with a lot of employees that they are still human. They want also to help. So the fact to multiply the partnership with corporate where they can do matching giving also, you will create traffic and you will get donation. And also the last element will be emailing. You can do emails to your database. You can do also SMS to your database to maintain the relationship and really ask them to donate. In fundraising, we say if you don't ask, you don't get. So it's a good time to ask, but take the consideration of the COVID-19, be empathic, be inspiring. It's really important. And if you're able to manage all this, I'm pretty sure you will be able to drive a lot of traffic and to get a lot of donation. So that was to answer your first question. What the things we can do to drive traffic to your website. The second question was about what Mafe.
It was more technical, but if you'd like, I mean, we do have one final question from our audience, and we will be sharing, of course, this information with you on our website via an article and video, so you will be able to answer that question maybe in more detail. And I'd like to give the opportunity for you to answer the question for Marion, who is asking, our NGO is an information or inspirational NGO. Don't you think after all this mobilization, the money will be more oriented to the action? What advice would you give us so we can survive?
People, they like to know where the money go to. And they want to make sure that their money is efficient and will make a difference. So it's true that crowdfunding and all the personal initiative we saw and that I share with you, it's working because people have the feeling that their donation, when they donate to this crowdfunding initiative, to a dedicated project, or when they give to a personal initiative, I believe that they have the feeling that their donation is much more valuable. Now, as a non-profit, you cannot, you have some administrative costs, you have some costs, and you cannot affect all the donation to an action, to a cause, and etc. So it's something complicated. This is where you need to be creative. I remember that Charity Water, for example, they do something which is they were the first to do it, but some major donor and some corporate, they take the cost of all the administrative, so all the fundraising cost or all the administrative cost was was paid by this major donor. And what they say is that when individual donors make a donation, 100% of the donation go to the action, go to the project. and even the transaction fees. You know, when you do a donation, you have maybe 1%, 2% fees through because of your bank, because of the Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, or the payment gateway you use. So even this costs are paid by the major donors and the corporate. But you also need to pay attention with this. I don't know if you are aware about Dan Pallotta. Is really something someone inspired and invite you to have a look on his video. But to be able to do good, to be able to grow, you have some headquarter cost. You have you as a fundraiser, you have a value, and this value needs to be paid, and your donors need to understand that we need to pay you. And to raise money, you need to invest. If you don't invest, you're not going to raise money. So it's really important. You can make people aware about this, and maybe once people donate, you can explain what are these costs, why they are important, why if you don't invest into fundraising, you cannot grow, you cannot get new donors, and you cannot solve a global issue like eradicate cancer or something else. So yeah, I don't know if you understand my. It was maybe a long answer, Marion, but I hope you understand. I don't know if you have any feedback on it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, actually, we've gone over a little bit of our time. So, Antoine, if you have any final words, please feel free to say to the organizations.
Well, we are facing really amazing time. Amazing. I don't know if this is the right wording, but I never see in my life so many people that needs help. And at the same time, I never see in my life so many people who wants to help. And I know that there is we have a lot of responsibilities as a fundraiser, but I invite you to be ambitious. Don't be shy. Take action. Communicate. Be authentic. And really, we need to raise a lot of money. So do it. Yeah, that was my message. Really take action. I sometimes experience that non-profit, they put some hold a lot of stuff because they think about, but if we do this, what will be the consequence, and etc. And maybe it's easy to say, but sometimes they think too much. Now it's really time to act. It's really time to raise money. And timing is really key. So really do so. And thank you for this webinar. Thank you for your question. And yeah, we are here to help. So you feel free to
get in touch with us.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Antoine, for your time and your great advice. Again, just to reiterate what Antoine said, we are here to support you as much as we can, answer your questions. So don't be shy to join our group. Email us, get in touch with us, and we are here to support you as much as we can to get through this crisis. I mean, we are in this together. We are here to help you. So please keep in touch with us and look out for more webinars that we'll be hosting soon, and articles and great tips. So thanks everybody for participating today.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you.